It's Thursday. You're watching The Betting Edge with the Prez. I'm Lawrence Presman, co-founder of WagerTalk Media, owner of WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic Gold Sheet. Today's show is going to be a great one. Rob Veno from SportsMemo.com and Mid-Major Matt from the same place. We're going to talk 2 college football games right off the top, then the baseball game for tonight, and then 2 NFL games. I want to bring my guests in. Welcome to the show, Matt and Rob. Matt, you first. Beautiful haircut.
Thank you. This is now we're a visual medium. I have to look good. I used to be able to just hide behind the microphone. No one knew what I looked like.
Yeah, you still don't look good. It's just a good haircut.
Well, this is radio. This is why I got into radio, because I could dress how I want and nobody would know what I look like.
Yeah, Teddy's the best. He comes on with a blazer, a suit shirt, and then he stands up and he's wearing boxers. Rob Veno, your hair looks spectacular again.
Trying to please you, Prez. Always trying to please you.
Love doing shows with you, Rob. Pros vs. Joes is on hiatus this week. We're back next week. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Rob, we'd like to have the camera face on, not directly up your nostrils. I got a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about before we get into the show. We're going to talk UVA versus Miami, Colorado versus Oregon, Tampa Bay versus Houston, the Panthers versus the Bucs, and San Fran versus the Rams. Before we get into that, 2 quick topics. Number 1, Matt, we'll go to you first. Holy moly, what a baseball game last night between the Nats and the Dodgers. My God, some bad managing, if you will. I felt like Kershaw has already shown that he shouldn't be called in at any time. He's not Madison Bumgarner in his prime or Kevin Brown. I don't know if you remember when Florida laid out Kevin every single bloody game of the playoffs. And then they should have kept Maeda in longer. They shouldn't have put whatever the hell last bit. Joe Kelly shouldn't have come out for the second. With that said, what a game!
Yeah, if you have the Nationals futures, you're feeling pretty good about yourself, because I see they're slightly favored in their series against the Cardinals, and they've got the pitching to match up with Houston. If Houston gets that far, and the Yankees, of course, if they get that far, they have the way better pitching in that matchup.
Yeah. Rob Veno, did you watch that doozy last night, or were you already? Did you already have your helmet on to keep every strand in place?
No, that goes on in the morning, Prez. But yeah, I watched. I was raised a Dodger fan. My father goes back to the Brooklyn Dodgers, so there was a little bit of frustration on the LA side for sure. Not only this year, but they look as if they're becoming Bobby Cox's Atlanta Braves very, very quickly.
Marv Levy's Buffalo Bills.
Sure. A team that can play great regular season baseball and just not good postseason baseball. Feel bad for Clayton Kershaw, not a better guy in baseball. He had his chance once again to maybe resurrect some of the demons that have surrounded him in the playoffs. Didn't do it. Back-to-back jacks by Rendon and Soto sort of answered that question. And, of course, like you guys said, Joe Kelly finished off the deal. And Kenley Jansen was nowhere to be found. Dave Roberts lost total faith in Kenley Jansen.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mentioned this on Puck Time. Guys, check out Puck Time today. What a show. Carmine Bianco and Dave Koken, and it was fun. I mentioned this on Puck Time, and that is Kershaw has never allowed back-to-back home runs in his entire career during the regular season. He's done it twice in the playoffs. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been bad for him. And it's a long stretch, Prez. It's a 7-8 year stretch of just poor playoff performances that he can't shake. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. No doubt his overall numbers are right up there with the best in baseball history, but he'll always be remembered for these playoff failures. It's a shame. A good guy, well-liked universally, but just can't seem to get it done when it comes to clutch time baseball.
Yeah, they showed a picture of him. Firstly, before I get into that, Rob, next time you come on, I want better lighting, I want a better camera angle, and I want you to email missy@wagertalk.com and get a damn backdrop, okay? That's it for my rant. They showed a picture of Clayton Kershaw sitting by himself in the dugout right after he was pulled. Literally not one single person there. And I was watching the game with my girlfriend Viv, and she was like, oh my God, I feel so bad for him. Guys, I just want to put this all into perspective. 99% of you people listening to the show and basically breathing in the Western world woke up at 6:30 this morning, showered miserably, had a coffee with a frown on their face, hopped into a car, sat in an hour and a half of traffic to get to their job, slaved all day at their job, got bowled out by their boss, didn't get their project in on time, stayed there until 6 p.m., then drove home in an hour and a half traffic, got home at 7:30. Wife was angry at them because they were late. Husband was angry because the wife didn't cook because she worked and had a rough day herself. Had to deal with 2 or 3 kids until 10 o'clock and then went to bed. Clayton Kershaw woke up, did pretty much nothing, played baseball, checked his bank account, threw a couple of shitty pitches and went home and had a nap. Don't feel bad for this guy. Feel bad for all of us schmucks who don't get to play baseball and check our bank accounts all day long. Anything to add to that, Matt?
I don't like that characterization. I don't think that just because he makes a lot of money, he doesn't care. He doesn't.
I never said he doesn't care. I said his life is amazing.
Yeah, it's not, though, because he didn't win last night. There's going to be tons of people who are going to come at him. Money doesn't solve everything. And so, I feel like he is not in a good place right now today. He's not happy about the Dodgers not playing. So I don't know if I agree with that characterization.
Okay. I'm available for hugs, Mr. Kershaw. It's $1 million every 2 minutes. Last thing before we get into the show is Pink Floyd. What is the first word that comes to mind, Matt?
I'm not a music guy, so I have heard of them and I know their songs, but wrong person to ask.
Rob?
Yeah, The Wall? I don't know. That's the first thing.
Both of you guys suck. I am completely and totally obsessed with this band. I have been for 40 years. I am seeing the Australian Pink Floyd Experience tonight. If they are ever in your town, people, whether you like Pink Floyd or not, you will never see a better concert ever. 8 minutes into the show, we haven't even started. Jeff Oskeim on a 17-3 all sports run, 17-3 in his last 20. Check out the scroll at the bottom. You get $20 off his plays, including a 5% play in college football tonight. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code OSK20. That O is OSK20. I better turn my ringer off. Matt, UVA +2 versus Miami. What do you like?
Well, it's I brought this game up. By the way, if you notice behind me, there's the clever UVA sign.
Yeah, and also the studio's in reverse, Matt. Normally, I don't understand what you've done.
What do you mean? We've got Virginia Tech.
No, but normally the board is on your other side.
I've done nothing. I don't know. I'm not that technologically sound to have done anything to this thing, but I do have the stuff behind me. So anyway, to the matchup itself, I was stunned when this line came out. Look, Miami is a train wreck right now. You saw Jaron Williams. He threw 3 picks those first couple series. They had 4 straight turnovers against Tech. They come all the way back. They miss the extra point, tie the game, and then lose it to a bad Virginia Tech team. And so now they're favored. And it's part of this 5-game homestand. We know that N'Kosi Perry is going to start. He's, I guess, better than Jaron Williams, who's dealing with a shoulder issue. Manny Diaz is now going to take more part in his defense, which I kind of thought he would be all along. They've got the best linebacking core in America, I think. And on the Virginia side, they're coming off their first loss. They had a bye week. They had some extra time to prepare for this one. But I don't like what I'm seeing from Bryce Perkins lately. He's thrown 2 interceptions in 3 of his last 4 games. His mechanics don't look great. The knee brace that he has on. This line is dying for Virginia money, yet it seems to be keep going up. And it's almost like Vegas wants you to take Virginia because they're so sure Miami's going to win this game.
Rob Veno, what do you like in this game? -2.5 to Miami. There's clearly money coming in on Miami. The over and under has dropped 3 points to 43.5. Where are you going?
The total drop might be the potential for rain there, Prez, but there's potential for rain in Florida every single hour of every single day. The weather reports looks like 40% chance of thunderstorms throughout the first half. Second half should be clear. Maybe that's a reason for the drop. I can't think of many others unless they just don't like N'Kosi Perry, which I couldn't blame anybody for. I mean, he came out of nowhere with 422 yards passing last week. That's not typical of his passing performance. It won't be typical of what he does here against Virginia, which possesses on defense two of the things that Miami doesn't seem to be able to handle. Number one, a pass rush. Virginia's got 22 sacks this season, pretty fierce pass rush. Miami's allowed 25. Their offensive line has been a problem since day one. The skill position players haven't really been able to get going because the offensive line doesn't open up many holes and they don't protect the quarterback very well. Neither one's played a really good schedule, to tell you the truth, Prez. I mean, each one has played one really good team. Miami played Florida. Virginia played Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Even though I believe Virginia's the better team. I mean, 3 of the 4 quarters, they were outscored by Notre Dame. They only won the second quarter, 10-0 in that one. So schedule-wise, there's really nothing to make of that. I just think fundamentally the better players are on the Virginia side. The matchups fit the Virginia side. It's a desperation game for Miami. 0-2 in the Coastal Division, 0-2 in the ACC, but in the same division as Virginia. So if they're ever going to have a breakout game, you would expect it to be here mid-season where everything could fall apart after this if they lose. But I still think Virginia, Bronco Mendenhall defensively, just too much for what Miami has going on that offensive line.
Rob Veno and Mid-Major Matt with us. You're watching The Betting Edge. You can see it every day at our YouTube channel, WagerTalk TV. Guys, this game I find fascinating. Colorado plus 21 going into Oregon. And let me make a couple of quick remarks before I throw to you, Matt. This game has got what we call a reverse line move on it. 55% of the tickets written so far are on Colorado. Yet, the Oregon line has moved from minus 16.5 to minus 21. The reason for that, and I've mentioned this before on the show, guys, is it's not necessarily the general public and how much volume ticket number-wise is being written on a game. There's obviously some very smart money coming in on Oregon. With that said, I'm going to assume a line move back towards Colorado as we close in on Friday. My take on this is a couple of fold. Firstly, Oregon, this is not the Oregon team that we have known over the last couple of decades. I mean, this team held Cal to 7, Stanford to 6, and then a 3 and a 6. 1 touchdown scored against Oregon in the last 4 games. Granted, none of those teams have a high-flying offense. Speaking of which, Colorado can put up points, and I think that's really where my handicap goes in this game. I think 21 points is too much. I like Colorado here, Matt.
Well, the question is who's healthy for Colorado, because Katie Nixon and Laviska Shenault are both day-to-day right now. They missed. I believe Shenault didn't play last game, and he's their number 1 receiver by far. Katie Nixon's in the mix also at the wide receiver position. You mentioned the defense for Oregon. The other thing is the offense. Like, where's the offense been? Outside of that huge game against Nevada, they have done nothing. Yeah. And Justin Herbert, look, he's still going to get drafted top 3 probably. And no matter how poor or good this offense looks, he's still going to get up there. But, I kind of lean a little bit to the under here, but I'm also weary of the rare explosion from this team. Their offense is capable of putting up a lot of points, but I might take a chance on the under here, thinking Colorado's banged up. They don't travel well. Oregon's defense continues to play well, and then Colorado's defense does just enough to keep Oregon off the scoreboard. They've got a trip to they've got Washington coming up next, so that's something else to consider.
Joe, Rob the Hair, Veno, what do you like, bro?
I don't think there's any side to look at other than Oregon in this game, Prez, to tell you the truth. The sort of sputtering of the Oregon offense could really be attributed to the fact that they haven't had all pieces in place all season long. Last week was the first time that they had their 2 best wide receivers on the field. Micah Pittman came back. Brendan Schooler came back. There wasn't a lot of production out of those 2 guys at that time in that game last week against Cal. But Cal's a different animal defensively than what Colorado is. And when you add into the fact, Matt talked about offensive injuries for Colorado. Point well taken. Let's throw on top of that defensive injuries to Colorado. 7 defensive backs possibly out for this game for the Colorado Buffaloes. 5 with question marks, 2 that are definitely out. You've got assorted other defensive players out of this game. If ever there's going to be an offensive explosion, especially through the air for Justin Herbert and his newly found top targets, it's going to be right Colorado. Steven Montez is great, but again, Matt's point about Chenault and Nixon possibly being out for this one will hurt them greatly. Colorado's defense has been great at getting his mobile, but he'll have to be real mobile here. I think there's no other way to look at it except for Oregon and in a potential blowout.
Guys, Oskeim Sports, I mentioned it at the top of the show. He's on a 17-3 all sports run. Get $20 off any of his plays, so long as the package costs more than $40. So his 7 days, month, a week, 3 days. He's got a 5% playing college football up on Saturday. That's $40. You can get $20 off of it. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code OSK20. You two schmoes, when you come on my show, if you want promos, you email me your streaks, your runs, and a potential promo idea. I ain't doing all the work. I got 40 staff at WagerTalk. 40. I'm a busy man. Tampa Bay, Houston. I'll bottom line this, boys. St. Louis won. Washington won. The sphincter pucker factor tonight is at an extreme high level for Houston and is ready for anal, if you will, for Tampa Bay. Nice. They don't care. I mean, they care. But the pressure is on Houston. I have to look at Tampa Bay as an extremely live plus 225 dog here. We saw it last night. And look, obviously Houston is a much better team, and I think they have a chance to win it all. But man, these elimination games, I don't want to be the favorite. Matt?
I mean, this is Johnny Holstaff in all respects for Tampa Bay. I mean, Glass now you figure maybe goes 4 and a third, 4 and 2/3. He went 4 and a third in game 1. Then you got to figure Charlie Morton will be available. I'm guessing everybody except for maybe Blake Snell will be available tonight. I mean, they kind of went through the game 4 perfectly using their pitchers the right amount to keep them fresh for this game tonight. I mean, I don't necessarily want to fade Houston's offense at home. They're so much better. Garrett Cole has been fantastic, but I mean, I'm a little bit of a chicken. I might take the Rays run line because it's plus in some places. But yeah, Tampa Bay's got to be a live dog tonight because anybody and everybody is available for them in that pitching staff.
Yeah, we're on the same page, brother. And Rob, what do you like, bro?
Yeah, I can't disagree with either of you guys. Potential under game here because the pitching should dominate. I think it's inside Houston's head right now. Reading a couple articles about, the hitters talking, it's hard to come up 4 times and see 4 different pitchers and get used to those 4 different pitchers. And in a short series, that works. Over the course of 162 games, maybe it doesn't work as well, but in a short series, it certainly works. Houston trying not to make excuses, but I have to believe that right now it's inside their head. The relief corps that Tampa Bay can drag out outside of the starting pitchers, when you talk about Castillo and Yarbrough, and those guys are fantastic as well. And I don't know that Houston goes as deep. Now, it's an American League game. You don't pinch hit for the pitcher. So Garrett Cole is out there as long as Garrett Cole can be out there. But when Garrett Cole's time comes to an end, it's interesting to see where Houston will turn. Justin Verlander kind of wiped his hands of this series with a couple of quotes after his performance last time out. So we'll see how this goes. But I do agree, Tampa Bay has to be live. And, to Matt's reference, plus 1.5 runs at plus price is maybe worth taking here.
Yeah, I'm gonna gamble, boys. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay flat out. I'm passing tonight as a handicapper. Nothing on this game is worth putting out to my customers, but I am on a 6-1. I am 6-1 in the baseball playoffs this year. I also won my 5% play last night on the Washington Dodgers game, and as you can see, guys, on the scroll at the bottom, I'm 4-1 in football 5% plays this year. I have a 5% play in NFL this Sunday. It's literally my favorite play so far this season. It's up at WagerTalk now. Regular price is $40. It's yours for $15. That's only being offered to people who watch Puck Time and the Betting Edge. And you go over to WagerTalk, you use the promo code PREZ5%. That's PREZ 5%. Speaking of NFL, Matt, we'll go to you first. Another game in London, England. Carolina on the road, playing Tampa Bay on the road. -2.5 for Carolina. I like the over in this game. I'm going to say that flat out. It's 47.5. I think Tampa Bay's got a really, really bad defense. I think maybe potentially a top 5, bottom 5, bottom 7 defense. I think Carolina's going to be able to move the ball on them. I think Christian McCaffrey's going to have a massive day. And conversely, Tampa Bay can score with the best of them. They scored against New Orleans when Dallas couldn't. I like Carolina in this game, Matt, and I like the over. I prefer the over, but I could actually see myself getting to the window with both.
The thing that I'll consider here, and it won't be on my card, but there's some interesting facts here. You look at Carolina. This is a team that's never gone and played in London. And if you look last week when Oakland and Chicago played, Oakland had been very familiar with the whole London thing, whereas Chicago hasn't been.
Point.
And this is one of those things where you read the quotes from the team. When did they fly over? How are they handling the body clock? How much are they practicing on the new field? Now, Tampa Bay, it's been a while. They've done it twice, though. They've played at Wembley twice before. So that's just a little thing I like to consider here is that Tampa Bay, some of the players are familiar with it. And whereas Carolina's like, well, wait a second, we're overseas, we're in a new place, there's a new crowd, there's new settings and everything like that. So Carolina's the better team, of course, but that's a factor that's going to kind of scare me on playing them because this is all new stuff for them.
I agree, and it's such a good point. And I think Rob, you and I spoke about this on Pros vs. Joes. And I spoke about this on the NFL presidential address, Matt. I mean, the Oakland-Chicago example is just really great because, as we found out, Oakland was able to win that game. Rob, what do you like?
Well, I think it's interesting that this shallow into the NFL season, we have a divisional rematch already. These guys played once before. It's the famous why didn't Cam sneak it over from the 1-yard line for the win game? He was injured, of course. They gave the ball to McCaffrey. He got knocked out of bounds, turned the ball over. They lose 20-14. It's an interesting game from a lot of angles, guys, because neither team was able to really do what they're best at offensively. Carolina could not run the ball. Christian McCaffrey was held to 54 yards from scrimmage. That's, rushing and catching the football. And Tampa Bay couldn't throw it very well either. In fact, their play calling percentages actually were a bit inverted in that game. They they ran it much more than they threw it. But I'm a guy who, the second time around, and I've said this before, I think, Prez, on a past show with you, that I firmly believe that coaches always look to fix what went wrong first. Carolina is going to try and fix what happened to McCaffrey in that game and spring him loose here. Tampa Bay is going to try and fix the passing game that only went for 180 yards or whatever in that contest. And maybe we'll see better play out of the offenses here. Like I say, the first one only totaled 34 points, but we could see a bit of a reversal. Conspiracy theory will tell you that the NFL likes to have fun games over in London to promote their product. A lot of these games over the years, more than half have gone over the total for sure. So maybe that helps point production as well. One key for Tampa Bay, they'll get Devin White back at linebacker, their number 1 draft choice, first-round draft choice, which is big in that case. But I would expect, like I said earlier, that both of these teams will correct what went wrong, and we'll see from there. It's a big game divisionally. They both have to have a win, Carolina especially, since they lost to Tampa the first time. The line movement here has been all Carolina. Still under a field goal, so if you like them, get them now. I don't know that it'll ever touch 3, but certainly you don't want to let it get that far if you like the Panthers in that game.
I agree 100%. You can't afford it to go to 3. Guys, I think the game of the week, the undefeated 5-0 San Francisco 49ers playing the 3-2 LA Rams. San Fran is +3. There are 3.5s on the board. I think, guys, if you plan on betting the Rams, I think you better do it now. Look, my take is on the NFL presidential address. If you want to hear my opinion on this game, watch the show. I'll just go to you, Matt. Fill me in, brother.
Well, I did a write-up on this for Oskeim Sports that'll be coming out this weekend, and this is one of my favorite games of the weekend in terms of, everybody's going to look to San Francisco. They saw what they did on Monday night, but if you look at the prep times, you've got a Rams team that played last Thursday, so they've had extra time to prepare. You've got a San Francisco team that had played on Monday night, and now they have to travel. Now, granted, it's not that far of a travel, so that's not as much of an issue, but there's the other concerning news that came out about Todd Gurley and how fresh and effective he is and how much he's going to practice this week. And so that kind of is looming over this whole thing. Like Todd Gurley in the past used to be a 20, 25 carry guy.
Yeah.
He used to play so much. And now he's only getting like 13 to 15 carries. We're seeing Malcolm Brown play. So that's a factor too. I think the key for this one is who can maintain their balance enough. San Fran's run it more than they've passed it. They don't want Jimmy G backing up and throwing 40 times. I don't think the Rams want Jared Goff throwing 40 times, and he's got the better set of skill position guys. We don't know about Brandon Cooks and his concussion. Gerald Everett was a revelation last week, but can that continue? There's a lot of question marks. Better coaching edge is also a big question. Do you like Sean McVay or do you like Kyle Shanahan off a short week? I like the team that has a little bit more prep time for this one. I think the Rams show everybody why everybody liked them so much in the preseason.
Rob Veno, take us home, my friend.
Yeah, I think one piece of what Matt said there is probably the key to this game. San Francisco wants to run it more than they want to pass it. But two devastating injuries to that running game show up this week. They lose Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, do everything fullback for them, who leads a lot of those running plays, who protects the passer in a lot of passing situations, who catches the ball out of the backfield, and they lose tackle Mike McGlinchey for 4 to 6 weeks now, both to knee injuries. If you take that McGlinchey injury and throw in the fact that Joe Staley is already on the injured list, that's their two starting tackles gone. San Francisco's made a living so far this season off of a physical brand of football, and I just don't know how physical they can be when two of their key components to that rush offense, which leads the NFL in rushing yards per game, are now wiped out. The Rams are in a desperate situation here. Losing back-to-back divisional games would be brutal for them. They lost to Seattle last Thursday, obviously. To come back and lose to San Francisco would be not good for them. And they're already 2 back in the loss column overall to the 49ers. So I think all the situational stuff lines up here for the Rams. The offense hasn't been the problem. In one game, it was Jared Goff mistakes that got them behind early, and they had to throw it like crazy against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last week, the offense wasn't the problem again. It was the defense. They got to shore some things up. They've got the personnel. I don't understand how they played so well on the defensive end for 3 games, and then the last 2 have kind of fallen apart. I think the Rams are the right side here, Prez. I agree with both of you guys.
Although I didn't give my opinion, but I love that you agree with me anyway. Boys, that's the show. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We really appreciate it. Tomorrow's Betting Edge show will be with Jeff Oskeim from Oskeim Sports and my co-founder, Marco D'Angelo. Also, make sure to check Thursday's Puck Time show out. Make sure to watch the NFL presidential address. Ralph just killed it this week. It's up at WagerTalk TV on our YouTube channel. Matt, best of luck, man, this week. Kick ass. Keep winning. Rob, you too. I love our Thursday show.